how about watching a story about crabs, those little creatures that roam underwater? Today we are going to talk about them. So without any further delay, let's dive into the world of crabs. In the crab world, there are rivalries, friendships, and families, just like in the human world. In their own world, crabs seem to do everything quickly, but in reality, their tiny movements are so slow that even covering a short distance takes them a long time. The story begins on a beautiful beach in New Jersey, where humans have built their own little paradise. There are parties everywhere, families enjoying themselves, and a fun-filled atmosphere. But beneath this world lies the world of crabs. Just like humans have their own world, crabs have theirs. They have spaces for parties, gyms, and everything they need. The brown-colored crabs we see here are land crabs. They can survive only on the surface, although they do go into the water occasionally. On the other hand, there are sea crabs that live exclusively in water. If they come out, they won't survive for long. Every summer, the sea crabs visit the beach, and the land crabs have to welcome them as honored guests. This is where we meet our main character, Armin. He lives in an old shell that is very special to him because his parents gave it to him. Inside his shell, there's a tiny worm named Annie Money. Armin is happy in his shell and never wants to change it. He is somewhat introverted. We are introduced to Armin's friends, Bobby, Manny, and Jimmy, who always try to cheer him up and encourage him to come out of his shell. They frequently change their shells, but Armin refuses because he is emotionally attached to his. Then, the sea crabs arrive for their summer vacation. All the land crabs get busy providing services to them. There's even a resort-style hotel where Armin and his friends work. The resort has a luxurious pool, a waterfall, and a comfortable sunbathing area, making it the perfect getaway for the sea crabs. Here, we meet the second lead character, Ramona, who has come with her mother and her sister Shelly, who is deaf. Ramona is very energetic and loves jumping from high places. Her mother, meanwhile, is talking to a friend about her son Mako, who she believes is a perfect match for her daughter. While Ramona's mother is searching for her, Ramona jumps from a great height, splashing water everywhere. At this moment, Mako arrives, a charming bachelor trying to impress Ramona. Meanwhile, Armin is spraying water on the guests when he sees Ramona for the first time and instantly falls for her. Mako, however, mocks Armin, but Ramona stops him. Mako then invites Ramona to a party that night. Excited about going out, Ramona asks her mother, but her mother refuses, warning her that the outside world is dangerous. Disappointed, Ramona agrees at first, but later decides to sneak out with her sister, Shelly. On the other hand, Armin's friends convince him to come to the party despite his introverted nature. They drag him along because only his uncle, Bruno, can get them inside the club. Bruno warns them not to cause any trouble, as their business depends on the sea crabs. At the club, Armin sits quietly while everyone else enjoys. He notices Ramona, and they start talking and laughing. However, Mako arrives again and insults Armin. This time, Armin's friends jump in, and a fight breaks out. Chaos ensues, and during the scuffle, Bobby accidentally rips off Mako's claw. The club security throws Armin and his friends out. Upset, Armin scolds his friends for always getting him into trouble. Bobby and the others feel guilty, wondering if they are really his friends. Later, Mako bullies Armin and forcefully removes his beloved shell, despite Armin pleading with him not to. Ramona arrives and tries to stop Mako, but he refuses. Mako then pushes Armin into the water, knowing that he is afraid of it. Armin watches helplessly as his shell sinks into the depths. Suddenly, a giant wave comes crashing in, sweeping both Armin and Ramona away. The next morning, the entire beach is devastated. The crab world is in ruins. Homes, shops, and families are scattered. Bobby searches for his mother and is relieved to find his family safe. Soon, everyone realizes that Armin is missing. They call out for him, but he is nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Armin wakes up on a distant beach, trapped in a cage. A human has captured him, and he sees other crabs from different parts of the beach. They tell him there is no escape from this place. To his surprise, Ramona is also there, crying. She regrets not listening to her mother and being stranded without water. The other crabs explain the harsh reality of their captivity. Meanwhile, Bruno searches for his nephew Armin, and Ramona's mother looks for her missing daughter. The land and sea crabs momentarily unite, but Mako falsely accuses Bobby of pushing Armin into the water. This leads to more conflict, and Bobby declares that from now on, land crabs and sea crabs will live separately. Back in the cage, Ramona realizes that the only way to escape is to attract a human's attention. She uses her bright shell to draw a girl's interest, causing the seller to open the cage. Taking this chance, Ramona and Armin leap out, followed by the other crabs. A chaotic scene unfolds as crabs flood the beach, causing panic among humans. Ramona and Armin feel an adventurous rush as they run across the shore. Eventually, Ramona finds a pool and jumps in, while Armin, still afraid of water, hesitates. Ramona, thrilled by their adventure, tells Armin they should explore the area before returning home. After all, once she is back with her mother, she won't get another chance to have this kind of freedom. They had achieved such a big adventure, and anyway, they had to go to the beach now because they had to go to Mom, so it made sense for them to explore a little. Roam around here because they only had tonight left. After that, his mom wouldn't let him go anywhere. Then, it also became clear that Armin was very timid. He had never even explored this beach before. He had no idea what places there were to visit here. In the process of searching for a beach, they accidentally ended up on a roller coaster. The ride started, and Ramona began to enjoy it excessively, thrilled by the great heights. Meanwhile, Armin figured out how far his beach actually was. But as soon as they got off, motion sickness hit him hard, and he kept throwing up. They then started walking around, searching for a spray because Ramona's health was deteriorating due to the lack of water. They took pictures, went shopping, played games, and had loads of fun on different rides. By now, night had fallen, and both of them started missing their homes. But they knew they would never forget this amazing day they had spent together. Meanwhile, we see Bobby, who set out alone to find his friend Armin. Bruno was also searching because, obviously, it was his nephew. Bobby assured him not to worry, he would find them. At the same time, Bobby and his friends noticed that the parties had started again. When they looked inside the club, they saw that Mako felt no guilt at all. He was just partying with his people. This made me furious. His friend Armin was missing, and here Mako was, just partying. On the other hand, Armin was simply searching for water for Ramona. He finally found a small waterfall, but by the time he reached it, the water had completely dried up, and he couldn't get any for Ramona. Back to Bobby, he was searching for Armin at the beach when he saw someone else, Shelly. He called out to her multiple times, but she didn't turn around. That's when Bobby realized that Shelly was deaf. Still, they had a great time together. And finally, Bobby had made a new friend. Shelly turned out to be very strong. Bobby had assumed sea crabs were weak and that he could easily defeat them, but Shelly's strength impressed him. He even suggested they team up to find their friends and siblings together. The scene shifts back to Armin and Ramona. Armin revealed that he was terrified of water because a massive wave in his childhood had swept his parents away, never to return. Since then, he had been alone. The shell he carried was given to him by his parents. But Ramona taught him to live, that he couldn't stay trapped in one thing forever. He had to move forward. After all, he had already shown incredible bravery in so many adventures, and that's why he had made it this far. Meanwhile, Bobby and his friends stormed the club. Bobby dropped various acids into the drinks, which were like Red Bull to humans, but acid for the crabs, causing chaos. The entire club fell apart, and all the crabs fled. A massive fight broke out between Armin and Bobby. Initially, Bobby had started to think sea crabs weren't so bad after meeting Shelly, but his fight with Mako reignited his anger. Now there was no going back. War had been declared between the sea crabs and the land crabs. Bruno tried to stop it, but Bobby and his friends refused to listen. Then Bobby discovered something shocking. Mako was the last one to see Armin before the huge wave hit. Mako had even thrown away Armin's shell. When Bobby saw Armin's shell, he broke down in tears, believing his friend was dead. This fueled his rage. There was no stopping the fight now. Mako, on the other hand, assumed that Ramona had died because of Armin and was equally determined to fight. Meanwhile, Armin and Ramona were having a peaceful time together, unaware of the chaos. They soon encountered the crabs, who had escaped from the cage. Just as Armin and Ramona were about to share a moment, Armin hesitated to introduce her to his friends. This angered Ramona, who lashed out, "So you'll never accept me?" "I accepted you, didn't I? Why can't you do the same for me?" Furious, she stormed off. Her health was worsening due to the lack of water. Meanwhile, Bobby was assembling his army. All the land crabs were ready for battle. Mako had also gathered his forces and incited them against the land crabs, using Ramona's name to fuel their rage. Armin, carrying Ramona in his arms, was desperately running toward the sea, believing it was close. But their tiny steps meant it would take much longer to cross the vast beach. On one side, the land crabs stood in full force. On the other, the sea crabs emerged from the water, forming a massive army. They were right at the border between land and sea. A human, buried in the sand, watched their fight unfold. It seemed like an epic battle, though from afar it looked like tiny ants fighting. The war between sea crabs and land crabs began. Amidst the chaos, Armin continued running with Ramona. Despite the battle raging behind them, they had become one and kept moving forward. The fighters cleared a path for them, and Armin finally reached the water, gently placing Ramona in it. The moment Ramona touched the water, she revived, returning to her lively self. Overjoyed, she immediately kissed Armin. Armin, overwhelmed, fainted and fell into the water. Ramona quickly pulled him back up. When they resurfaced, they embraced. Armin had finally accepted that he could live among the sea crabs. When questioned about what he was doing with Ramona, he confidently introduced her as his girlfriend. Everyone was overjoyed. There was no longer any war between the sea crabs and land crabs. Both groups celebrated together, even planning a family dinner. The conflict was over. That night, they all partied. Mako, realizing his mistake, apologized to Bobby and gifted him a new shell. Bobby loved it. Before the sea crabs left, they exchanged shells with the land crabs as a sign of friendship. Now, it was Armin's turn. He still had his old family shell, but he had changed. He couldn't remain an introvert forever. Accepting his new shell, he passed his old one to an elderly crab. That night, the crabs gathered, danced, and celebrated together. And with that, this amazing crab love story came to an end. So, how did you all like the movie? Let me know. See you all in the next movie. Until then, goodbye. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out our other videos and subscribe for more magical adventures. See you next time.